Hey everyone, my name is Drew. If you're new here, welcome to Novelitic. If not, welcome back. Today I'm going to be taking you through my physically owned poetry collection. So for the month of April, we have National Poetry Month, so I thought it would be appropriate to take you through my poetry. So I love poetry. I know that's not a lot of people's favorites, at least not from what I've seen on BookTube, but I absolutely adore it. I love writing it. I love listening to it. I love reading it. There's just something about poetry that it's just, you can go back to it over and over again. It's always a new experience. So my actual TBR for poetry, even though I might mark it as read on Goodreads, it's still technically a part of my physical TBR because, again, every time I read it, it's something new. I love the reflective process and all of that. So I just wanted to take you through every poetry book that I own. As a disclaimer, I am not including books in verse, epic poetry, like I have Dante's Inferno, I'm not using that, or longer poems like John Ashbery's Flowchart, the Odyssey, stuff like that. That's not in this video. I'll do something separate for that, but this is purely poetry collections, whether that be anthologies or collections from one poet. So I'll be reading a bunch of these throughout the month of April, obviously, but also beyond that, if there's any that you would like to see me read or do a review, please leave that down in the comments, and I will make sure to prioritize that. Amid Thirsty Vines by Alpha. Power Politics by Margaret Atwood. The Poetry of Jane Austen and Her Family, Because We Are the Lucky Ones by Julie Baldock. Poems by Jen Bessemer. Walking the Dog's Shadow, poems by Deborah Brown. The Continual Condition by Charles Bukowski. Next, New Poems by Lucille Clifton. How to Be Alone by Tanya Davis. Final Harvest by Emily Dickinson. Blind Date with Cavafy by Steve Fellner. The Madness Phase by Andrea Gibson. The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. Poetry Collection of Gerard Manley Hopkins. Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. Greek Lyrics translated by Richmond Latimer. The Heaven Sent Leaf by Katie Lederer. The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one by Amanda Lovelace. I Am the Rage by Dr. Martina McGowan. Forbidden Games and Video Poems. The Poetry of Yang Mu and Lo Qing. The Collected Poems of Sylvia Plath. Alternate Lives by Shirley Powell. Poetry and Prose of the Tang and Song. Brocade River Poems. Selected Works of the Tang Dynasty. Courtesan Zhu Tao. The Selected Poems of Alfred Lord Tennyson. Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. The Complete Poems of Anne Sexton. The Complete Poems of Carl Sandburg. Shakespeare Sonnets. A Life Lost, a poetry collection by Merv Daria Yazachoglu. Selected Poems and 2 Plays by William Butler Yeats. 100 Best Loved Poems. 250 Poems, a portable anthology 3rd edition. Ain't I a Woman? A book of women's poetry from around the world. Contemporary American Poetry, 5th edition. No Dear. Great Poems by American Women. Japanese Death Poems written by Zen monks and haiku poets on the verge of death. I have 2 volumes of poetry from October 2008 and October 2010. Poetry 180, A Turning Back to Poetry, an anthology of contemporary poems. Sonnets from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. 10 Centuries of Spanish Poetry, an anthology in English verse. And lastly, I have 3 volumes of Zone 3. Alright, that's it for today. That is my physical poetry collection. Leave some comments and tell me if there's any that you would like me to read. If you made it this far, please press subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Until next time, bye!